The following podcast is brought to you by patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca. Like what you hear? Want more of it ad-free, uncensored, and earlier? Sign up today at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and start getting more for as little as $2 a month.
Don't miss your favorite superstars take center stage to forge the future of the hottest new brand in WWE.
Welcome to Forging the Future, your home for NXT at WrestleMedia.ca. I am, of course, the Jeff DeHaan.
Whoa, the Jeff DeHaan.
Well, it's my new Twitter
Tremendous.
handle. I just don't say at.
That's true. I'm at Smarks Anonymous, a.k.a. Andrew Kent.
A.k.a. the... I don't know. I was going to try to say some silly thing, but then halfway through I got lost. I blame Hawkins and Ryder. They do that on their podcast. They have like 2 or 3 different AKAs. Oh,
is their podcast any good?
If you like wrestling action figures, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's got to be better than Lasting Mark.
Yeah, that's true. But that's pretty much all they do. They literally just talk about wrestling action figures. So it's not
Sweet.
even like, you know, there's certain elements actually that are kind of fun because they're both obviously on the same brand and everything. They typically record either at the venue or, you know, while they're on the road every week. So one of the segments they do is for whatever city they're in, they discuss memories from that city. So it's like, oh yeah, well, this is the town where Kane pushed me off of the stage in a wheelchair or whatever, you know, and so that's kind of fun. But yeah, if you're not into something nerdy like collecting action figures, it's probably not the podcast for you. Just saying.
I'll check it out. I'd check it out for sure.
Just like if you're not into poop humor, The Lasting Mark probably isn't the podcast for you. So you see how it goes.
I definitely see how it goes. Believe me, I haven't listened to The Lasting Mark in months.
So many bleeps. So many bleeps. I feel bad for Adam.
Well, I mean, it's just another incentive for all of our fine listeners to go to patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and get that uncensored and unedited stuff. So, less beeps, more episode, more swearing.
But the funny thing is, it's actually less noticeable without the beeps.
It totally is.
Oh, it's been a long week. I'm kind of glad we can finally sit down and do this.
Man, it's been crazy.
Well, I mean, this what, 2 or 3 weeks now? 2 weeks in a row before we got to actually sit down. Adam covered for me one week and then covered for you last week.
That is the case, isn't it? That's right. I knew I wasn't on last week, but I forgot that it was me and Adam the week before. So, welcome back, man. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to the dream team.
Damn right. Woo! A-team, A-team. Yeah, because we immediately lose A-team status as soon as I start chanting that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's hard to be cool when you're doing that, but you got kids. I mean, I know that's not your catchphrase. That's Matt Sukram's, but come on now, get real.
Yeah. Oh, I have a child who doesn't enjoy sleep apparently. So there's that.
That's my nightmare. For me to have a kid someday who just refuses to sleep, who just is awake all hours of the night, and I'm terrified. I'm terrified of that.
It depends on the kid. Like the funny thing is with ours is he's a night owl, which kind of isn't surprising because both my wife and I typically are more night people than morning people. So
sure.
He'll stay up later than the average 3-year-old, but he'll sleep through the night because of that. So we didn't encounter a whole lot of, up 5 or 6 times a night kind of thing or whatever. Like I remember talking to friends of ours from our church. We're talking about one of their kids, how for literally the first 2 years of this child's life, she wouldn't sleep for more than 15 minutes at a time.
Never mind. Insane. That's my nightmare.
That's insane.
That is. How do you even get out of bed in the morning? How do you even survive?
I still don't know how Souk does it with twins, though, because it's like if one wakes up and starts to cry, then it wakes up the other one, even if the other one wasn't awake. And
he does have a superhuman wife.
I have yet to meet her, so I'll take your word.
She is legitimately superhuman. It is ridiculous.
He also lucked out and got a sweet gig following around the North Bay hockey team, so he doesn't necessarily have to be there all the time.
He did score the big one there, that's for sure. Superhuman wife, out of town job, dad's dream.
You know who else scored the big one?
Who's that?
Connecticut. As we segue right into the news.
That was clean, man. That was freaking clean.
Doing what I can. Yes, it was finally announced. Last week, Adam and I talked about how the date for the upcoming takeover was switched from June 8th to June 1st, and the majority of the speculation is saying because there was the Saudi Arabia show is going to be on June 7th, they obviously didn't want to have the two shows so close together, considering it's a much larger travel time than just from point A to point B in the States, so understandable, but we got some announcements from Triple H in that it is going to be in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and the name of the takeover is Takeover 25. Although, funnily enough, in the video, Triple H actually says if you count Takeover Arrival, it's technically, this would be number 26, but they don't really count that one as a takeover because it wasn't called Takeover, it was just NXT Arrival, so apparently they don't count that one. It was just a bonus NXT show, I suppose.
And I mean, which is totally fair. They could almost call this the 25th anniversary of NXT. Do you remember that? Do you remember that?
I hated that so much.
Do you remember that controversy around WrestleMania 25?
I hated that so much for that very reason.
You would hate that. You're such a nitpicker. You would absolutely hate that so much.
But it's simple math. Your first anniversary happens a year after the first one.
I get it, but come on. Like, you knew what they were getting at. It's 25 years. It's the 25th annual WrestleMania. Like, I get it. I get it. I see why people are frustrated about it, but it's still such a little nitpicky thing. It's hilarious. You and Lance Storm have something in common. I remember Lance Storm being absolutely off his freaking rocker frustrated about that.
Now, if I could be serious for a minute.
Get it?
Yeah. You can really tell that this takeover is being rushed, though, because they've already announced 2 matches for this show. Did they announce them on NXT TV? No. Did Triple H record a special video to announce them? No. They just played the promo video.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. So it looks like our main event is going to be Adam Cole fighting for the NXT Championship versus champion Johnny Gargano. And Shayna Baszler is going to be putting her title on the line against Io Shirai. But yeah, Triple H tweeted out the video. It's literally just like it's basically a commercial for TakeOver 25 that you would see on NXT television, but because they moved up the date and everything, that's how they announced the matches.
You know what? I really don't have that big of an issue with it. It would be nice, I suppose, if we could get a proper reveal, if we could get a proper announcement, proper build. My bigger issue is just, I don't know where you go with Johnny Gargano and Adam Cole too. I don't see there being, I don't know where you go with it that is beneficial to either of them. Well, I shouldn't say either, to both of them. Because, I mean, the goal of your main event should always be to essentially get two guys over. One guy has to go over, but the other guy has to get himself over in the act of losing. I mean, Bret Hart talks a lot about that in his book, right? Mm-hmm. His goal in any match where he had to put a guy over was, how can I also become a big deal out of this? Now, some people have attacked that sort of mentality and been like, wow, what a selfish way to look at the business, but I think that's kind of silly. I mean, who doesn't want to, make themselves look good at their job? And they need to, especially in the entertainment business, they need to stay relevant. So, I don't know how both of them come out of this looking good. Either Johnny loses so that Adam Cole can go over in their second match, but that would also mean that Johnny's dropping the title with 0 defenses. Or he didn't defend on TV at all, has he?
I don't think so.
So 0 defense reign, losing to the first guy. Who does he think he is? Jay White? What a joke. Anyways, or Johnny goes over and Adam Cole adds another L to his... The only way I guess they could get out of it is if Roderick Strong turns on Adam Cole and factors into the decision, or maybe not even full turns, but just continues the dissension, and Roderick Strong basically... Oh, no, Roderick Strong wrestled for the NXT Championship against Johnny Gargano. Do you remember that match on NXT TV? It was our last episode, you and I.
Yeah, I forgot that it was for the championship, but yeah.
So they could do that again, where instead it's Roderick Strong who accidentally causes Adam Cole the title, and it makes Adam look strong because he only lost because of the interference. Johnny gets to leave with a championship. They continue the dissension within the Undisputed Era. Everybody comes out on top. Maybe that's where they're going to go with it, but if they don't go that route, I don't see an alternate to sort of get both guys over.
Yeah, I'm kind of inclined to agree here. I feel like a lot of kind of this, I mean, maybe it's just because he wasn't on TV this week and I wasn't on the show last week, so I didn't have a chance to actually talk about it, but it doesn't seem like Gargano's been a focus necessarily the last couple weeks. Like even with it's because obviously a big focus is on Undisputed Era right now. So it's a pretty safe bet that, yeah, that's going to play into it. But this was the problem with sending so many guys up to the main roster so quickly, is I feel like the main event scene of NXT really got depleted. Like, you could have Velveteen Dream up there, but he's the North American champion. And I mean, as it is, like, Velveteen Dream's main eventing most of the house shows right now, so Gargano's not even doing all the house show loops. But I get that too, because they don't necessarily have huge house show cards, so I can understand that, and it puts over the North American Championship to have it main event the house shows. But yeah, I don't see Gargano losing it. He would hurt more from a loss than Cole would, especially since I'll bet you dollars to donuts that, yeah, this whole Undisputed Era split or whatever is going on is definitely going to factor into it. Interesting note also, speaking of NXT house shows, Strong actually, I saw some pictures from the last house show, which was after this past Wednesday show, and he was wearing his old blue Roderick Strong t-shirt, so he's not even going out in Undisputed Era stuff, which obviously makes sense. But yeah, and I'm nothing against Bridgeport, Connecticut, but TakeOver 25, you expect a Chicago or even like a Toronto. I know they're coming here in August, but I'm just throwing out like big wrestling cities. Have they ever done a TakeOver in Montreal?
No, not to my knowledge.
No, because I think the Toronto ones are the only Canadian takeovers they've had. I think.
Yeah, I don't think we've had any big pay-per-views that TakeOver typically tacks on to in Montreal in the last couple of years.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. I think if you did a solo one like this, because I think Montreal would be a hot town for TakeOver. I really do. So I think that would be good, but that's too bad.
Totally agree.
It's nothing against Connecticut, and they're using it as a big selling point for the first time. NXT takeovers in Connecticut, right in our backyard, but it just doesn't scream wrestling town to me. So I don't know.
I agree with you there. That's for sure. I mean, I don't even know where Bridgeport, Connecticut is. Is it in Connecticut?
Presumably.
Hey, this is a commercial for patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca, where you can get early access to episodes of your favorite WrestleMedia shows, get full uncut and uncensored versions of your favorite shows, and more. Don't want to hear this commercial on your podcast anymore? Sign up at our main event tier and get these episodes ad-free. Want to hear your own commercial here instead of ours? We've got tiers for that too. Visit patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca and join the WrestleMedia revolution today.
You know what, Andrew?
What's up?
Injuries suck.
Uh-oh, what now?
You know that feud we were kind of making fun of a little bit, and that whole gimmick with Dominik Dijakovic? That's going to be on hold for a bit.
Who got hurt?
Good old Dominik got hurt. He either is undergoing or underwent knee surgery for a torn meniscus.
Wow, he had barely got started on the brand. He's getting absolutely kented here.
Yeah, out for about 3 months.
Wow. Luckily, 3 months. You won't on NXT. 3 months is manageable.
It's 3 tapings, roughly. It's not too bad. Fun fact: if I ever had a metal band, that would be what I would want to name it. Torn Meniscus.
Torn Meniscus.
Doesn't it just? It just sounds like a metal band name, right?
It does sound like a metal band name.
So yeah, that's. He's trying to stay positive. Like I saw a tweet from when he announced it and stuff. He's trying to stay positive about it and saying, I'm not looking at this as a bad thing. Maybe it'll be a chance for him to kind of repackage himself a little bit. But I mean, it feels like he just got back. Like, I don't know if it was an injury or if it was just repackaging him from what he was doing before. Because I'd seen him on TV a couple times, but he never really did a whole lot. And then he came back with this whole feast your eyes thing and everything. And that was decent. And then now he does this. And who knows? So we'll see.
We will see. And I really hope that it's something that he is able to overcome.
Oh, absolutely.
He's a great talent. He's a tremendous wrestler. Those matches with Keith Lee were awesome. Or the one, I guess, I don't know. I'm thinking of the one I wish they'd had. I think he'll come back stronger. Hopefully, he'll get to drop the whole white supremacy thing completely off the face of the earth. And we'll see him, wrestle Velveteen Dream soon. Yeah,
hopefully. Definitely looking forward to that. And speaking of injuries, Tommaso Ciampa turned 34 on May 8th. And
happy birthday, Tommaso Ciampa!
Exactly. Happy birthday, Champ. And he got some good news. He got his 2-month x-ray follow-up from his surgery, and the doctor said to him, doesn't look good. It looks great.
Very cool. I'm telling you, he's gonna John Cena, man. He's gonna John Cena.
He very well could. Which is funny because I heard, rumblings. I think this might have been the episode that I was off for that you and Adam talked about, that there might be a chance that he might not be able to return to the ring at all, depending on the severity of this injury. But if we keep hearing that it's going as good as it is, then maybe. I mean, I would like him to, but at the same time, if he can't, obviously I want him to be safe and healthy, especially with such, a young baby at home and everything like that. You don't want him to wind up having an even more severe injury. So,
absolutely. I'm thrilled to hear that his rehab is going well, and I hope it continues to go well. As much as he would excel, I think, behind the announce desk or something like that, it's not as good as he would excel inside the ring. So
Absolutely. And that's something, you know what? If he can come back and if he can go, let him go. If he only goes for like another 5 years or whatever, and he's like, you know what? My neck's starting to get sore again. I should stop. Then so be it. But at least if he gets that next shot again, that's something. Because his run was so good.
Yeah, he had an incredible year. An absolutely incredible year.
For someone like me who didn't want to see DIY split up in the first place, to then go full circle and just eat up every crumb of this feud between him and Gargano, and not just for the sake of Gargano, like it was just so good, and he brought back being a heel again, and unfortunately he kind of did get to a point where he was starting to become a cool heel, but he was so good. It was such a great run, and it's unfortunate that it got cut short.
What I will say is I don't agree that he ever became a cool heel. Because he still never acted like a cool heel. He got put in this position where fans appreciated him for his wrestling ability and his ability to be a heel. He kind of got Stone Cold Steve Austin is what happened to him. He was so good at his job as a heel that the fans naturally began to respect and love him for it, and it is what it is, right? Whereas the NWO was basically trying to be cool.
That's fair. It didn't help that they gave Ciampa a pretty sweet theme music when he should have continued having nothing.
Agreed.
All right, and according to Casey Michael from Squared Circle Sirens, Hussein Al-Dagal and Faisal Kurdi, if I didn't butcher those names, hopefully I didn't, have apparently signed with WWE. Both were involved in a segment at the Greatest Royal Rumble where they kind of shared in beating down the Daivari brothers, along with current NXT wrestler Mansoor, and both were at the Saudi Arabia tryout. So even though this is a reportedly kind of story, it's probably a safe bet, especially with the next Saudi Arabia show happening in less than a month. So I just thought that was interesting to mention, especially given the timing.
Sure. Yeah, I mean they'd be smart to get a couple homegrown talents on that card, and I haven't seen a lot of Mansoor. I've been fairly impressed by him so far. Nothing really jumped off the page completely, but we'll see where the other two guys are at.
Yep. Mansoor really impressed me last week, partially because of his versatility, because he pulled double duty on NXT and NXT UK, and one show he was a babyface, the other show he was a heel. So
interesting.
Yeah. So he's got some decent versatility there. It'll be cool to see what they do with these guys for sure. But yeah, I'm thinking it's a safe bet we're going to see something. In fact, WWE might wait to announce that they've officially signed them for that show, and then who knows, maybe even have something with the Daivaris come out again and get beat down a second time or something like that.
Absolutely.
And from people coming into the company to someone leaving the company, Percy Watson is apparently no longer with the company. Again, this was reported by Casey Michael, so you might want to take it with a grain of salt, but we do know that Beth Phoenix has taken over Percy's role in commentary on NXT, and word is that Percy has left to pursue acting.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I heard sort of an interesting perspective on this and why it might have happened. Now, I don't know the nature. I don't pretend to know the nature of Percy Watson's departure from the company, or at least departure from NXT. They plugged Beth Phoenix in. Did I hear that somewhere? Is that something that is that true? Am I lying about that?
Yeah, she hasn't. she hasn't had a show air that she's been on commentary for. Well, I mean, like, she's done guest spots, but I mean, since taking Watson's place.
Sure.
But apparently it was the latest set of tapings. So it could be as early as next week we might actually hear Beth Phoenix on commentary.
Awesome. Well, what I've sort of heard is that what they're doing is they want a female presence on SmackDown as well. So they have Renee Young on Monday Night Raw, and they would like a female presence on SmackDown as well for when they switch to Fox. And this might be sort of like the grooming period for Beth Phoenix.
Yeah, probably. And I mean, like, as I said last week with Adam, is that she's improved quite a bit from her first few stints doing commentary. And I think doing it more regularly with NXT will do nothing but help her. And she's definitely still with the company. I actually just saw she had tweeted out some pictures earlier, and she's been doing some house show loops recently, so keeping her appearances up there. The question is kind of whether or not Watson left because he was replaced, or if he was replaced because he was leaving.
And you know, those are the type of questions that only Jess Jenny from Women Crush Wrestling could possibly answer, because she, of course, works for the company.
That's true, yes. She could talk to her buddy Double J there and get the scoop.
But as far as the speculation goes, has he been officially released? Have you seen anything like that?
No, again, this is just reported by dude from Squared Circle Sirens there, so take it, for what it's worth, but it wouldn't surprise me. I don't think that it's a heat thing. If I were to speculate, if I were to put my my speculation cap on with the little propeller on the top, I would say that he was probably planning to leave, and they decided to plug Beth into this spot.
And that's probably a safe bet, especially if it turns out to be true that he wanted to pursue acting. That doesn't sound like the sort of thing that you would just do when it's like, oh, I got fired. What should I do? Well, maybe I'll try acting. I don't know. It certainly seems like something that's been on the horizon for a while.
Absolutely, for sure. So, all right. Wicka, wicka, wicka. Tails, tails, tails. Tails, wicka wicka, from the PC. Uh-oh, I've lost you. No, I haven't. You
You are such a dad.
Oh, I know.
That's the daddest thing that anybody has ever done. Maybe that's not true. I did see a fella at a church dinner the other day try to do the floss.
Oh, I wouldn't even touch that with a 10-foot pole. No.
And then my pastor proceeded to call it, Andrew, did you see Matthew attempting to do the candy floss? And those combined were the two daddest things I've ever heard. This is a very close third place, though.
I'll be honest. I mostly decided to go that route just purely for your reaction.
You know what? I hear my reactions are something to behold, because Drew Ferris has been doing it to me for months on We Have Till 5.
Well, at least it's not so much at your expense when it comes to me, though.
That's true. You're right. There are many better qualities about you than Drew. You are right. I'm happy to be on the show, Jeff. I didn't mean to sound otherwise.
All right. Well, the tales were very light again this week. Only 2 videos. And neither of them had anything to do with wrestling, although they are obviously involving wrestlers. Dan Matha, who I don't think I've seen in action yet, but looks like a pretty cool dude.
Well, except for the fact that he says crib and whip.
Okay, yeah,
but
yeah, I'll give you those. But
it was right around the corner from my quib, so I jumped in my whip, and it's like, nope, I'm out.
But I, despite the fact that this was all about him skydiving, I look forward to seeing him in action. I think he could probably cut a good promo, depending on the slang that he uses.
Yeah, as long as you didn't say crib or whip, I'll be in. Yeah, seemed like a nice guy. Seemed like a good. You always got to be happy when a guy's wanting to do something forever. So for those of you who haven't seen it, he's huge. He's like 6'9", like 298 pounds.
Yeah,
like,
big dude.
Huge guy. And he's always wanted to skydive. And every school that he goes to, they just say, "Hey pal, sorry, you're too big. Nothing we can do for you. We don't have a rig that can support you." And finally he finds a school in Florida, and he gets to go skydiving, and he does his 7, and he gets certified to be an official skydiver, and it's a good moment. It's a good feel-good video, even though he's a bit of a... I'm not allowed to say that word because I got bleeped once, and I hate getting bleeped. He's a bit of a wiener. Am I allowed to say wiener, do you think?
I think so.
We'll see.
See, it's all about context. I was thinking about this because I almost sat in on the lasting arc a couple of weeks ago and then didn't pan out. But it's all about context when it comes to those words that you're going to get bleeped.
Totally right.
But yeah, he spun a good yarn. Like, that's one thing. You could see someone explaining their skydiving experience as being kind of boring, but he wasn't. I found him interesting. And that's kind of the main reason I want to talk about it, is that it's like, I look forward to seeing what kind of personality he would have in the ring. What kind of character he would be in the ring. I think that would be interesting. Now,
agree.
Someone we have seen in the ring is Deonna Purrazzo. Not a lot, but we have. And her tale from the PC was dyeing her hair, which sounds simple enough, but at the same time, we've talked about Ricochet getting his beard trimmed on this show before, so why not? This was quite the process to dye her hair silver. I don't know if I would have the patience to go through all these steps involved here. Like,
to be fair, Jeff, you don't have much to dye. It would be a significantly shorter process for you.
And don't forget, kids, to tune in next week when I begin my search for a new co-host. You wiener.
Whoa, dude, see, context. That one is definitely getting bleeped. The first one's fine, second one, absolutely getting bleeped. What is this, the lasting mark? Oh my goodness. Great balls of fire. See, I'm allowed to say that because that was a WWE pay-per-view, and they're a PG company.
Fair enough.
Even though I meant testicles. Now I'm curious if he... Anyways, let's get back on track here. Yeah, I obviously had next to zero interest in this video. I don't have much to say about it.
What I find interesting, though, is what they go through for the sake of their character and what they go through as far as, like, the length of time. Like, she went into this wanting to dye her hair silver. But in order to get to that, she had to bleach it blonde, and then for some reason went pink. I'm guessing it was easier to dye the silver in that way. And then finally got to silver. But in the meantime, she had to wrestle a house show with pink hair. You know, she probably had to wrestle a house show with the blonde hair. So it's just interesting that you got to take these steps for the sake of your character, but because it was such a long process, that evolution was evident throughout. So, like, I find it funny because you wouldn't see this on, like, the main roster. Like, they're very meticulous with making sure everybody looks similar. Like, I mean, Rusev actually got in trouble because he got his hair cut without checking with the office. You know, so they're very meticulous on the main roster about making sure everything is very, you know, the same, very regulated. There's the word I was looking for.
Sure.
Whereas this, it's NXT. It's, you know, hey, yeah, sure, you want to dye your hair silver? Go ahead. Oh, it's going to be blonde and then pink in the meantime? Whatever. You don't have an action figure or you're not in a video game, so who cares?
Very true.
All right. Once again, that's it. That's all. Hope you enjoyed the show despite the lunacy that took place. What can you do? It's a late night. He's got a new job, so he's busy. I've got a 3-year-old, so I'm busy. So we deal with what we can, how we can, and sometimes that involves recording at 12:30 a.m. It is what it is, kids. Woo-hoo. So on that note, because we're both dead tired, and I still have to edit this episode afterwards.
Yay.
Go check out patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca for all the extra fixins and trimmings that come along with this, like the full episode, or you can also get it without ads. I only realized recently that those are two separate things. I just assumed it was full length without ads. But no, you get your full length episode, and if you want a little extra, you can get it without ads. So if you only got the 30-minute edition, you're going to want more. Especially once we start talking some All Elite Wrestling next week. Looking so forward to that. So until next week, I've been the Jeff DeHaan.
I've been the Andrew Kent.
You're mocking me, aren't you?
Yeah.
Best of luck with your future endeavors. Now I gotta hop in my whip and head to my crib.
Oh, gosh.
This has been a presentation of WrestleMedia, where everything is wrestling and wrestling is everything. Here's what you're missing out on right now over at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.
Yeah, anyways, I don't want to talk it to death. It's not that I hate that Riddle won. It's good. Riddle could use the big victory. I don't totally understand what's going on. That's all.
Yeah, well, like I said, I think it's the byproduct of them depleting that main event scene too much too quickly.
Want more? Sign up now at patreon.com/WrestleMedia.ca.